Well, folks, we're visiting today with Coach Randy Mazey. He's the former coach of the West Virginia University Mountaineer baseball team, and now he's embarking on a new part of his journey as a motivational speaker and leadership trainer. Coach Randy Mazey, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah,
love doing stuff like this.
I'm looking forward to our conversation and learning more about what you're up to these days.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
Yeah, since I retired, I didn't really know how this was going to go. I retired to spend more time with my family and my kids, and I haven't figured out yet how to enjoy myself and my own life because I'm still chasing kids everywhere, which is the reason I retired. Is Weston, my oldest, is a senior in high school, and Sierra's a junior in high school. And
amazing.
Between baseball games and hockey games, I'm still doing everything for them. So I haven't figured out how to do things for myself yet. Maybe when we become empty nesters, I'll start focusing on myself. But it's up to this point, it's been all about my family, which is the way I wanted it.
I love it. And that's a very noble reason to retire, right? Kind of winding down your career, but you've got a new season that's up ahead of you. You can foresee that coming, but you don't know what it looks like yet.
Yeah, the reason I retired, honestly, was as the coach of the baseball team here, I felt such a degree of responsibility for the kids in the program, the university, the community, and the state of West Virginia. And when I was a young coach, I was around a lot of great people, a lot of older coaches, and they always used to say, man, when I lose a game, I can't sleep at night. And I always thought that was coach speak, but I kind of got that way, because of the responsibility I felt to so many people in the state of West Virginia. If we would lose a game, I was so disappointed, not for myself, but for 1.8 million people in the state of West Virginia. So I wasn't sleeping at night. I was stressed out. And then I realized what these old dudes were talking about. And then it got to the point where we started winning so much and started doing so well. I thought, man, we're having a great year. If we can't finish this thing off the right way, that's going to be a huge disappointment. And I felt the same level of stress when we were winning.
Yeah.
And then when we were losing. And all of a sudden, I'm not sleeping at night when you're losing and not sleeping when you're winning. And, I just wasn't present with my family. And I just thought, it wasn't worth it to my kids that their dad was always stressed out. And I thought, it's not fair to them. Yeah. So contracts and wins and accolades and what wasn't worth not being present with my family. So I thought it was time. I thought the program was in a great place with the people who were in place and the level of success we attained, that let somebody else coach the team. We've got it to a level now where I think it can stay at this level. And so basically I retired so I could spend time with my family and for the people of West Virginia to have a great baseball program.
Well, Coach, I appreciate that. And I appreciate your insight, because that's a lot like business. You get to a certain point where you're afraid that the business is not going to make it. And then all of a sudden you get this level of success. And now you've got mouths to feed and mortgages to pay for other, your team members and employees. You were here at WVU from 2013 through 2024. I mean, that's a good run. And you really transformed West Virginia University baseball.
Well, I don't know how many people realize, but they were trying to decide whether to drop the baseball program.
That's right.
Or even continue it when they joined the Big 12.
Yeah.
And Oliver Luck, our former AD, made some phone calls and talked to some baseball people and said, do we even have a chance to compete in the Big 12? And I think a couple people talked them into continuing. And in typical Oliver style, he said, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. So we're going to invest in a stadium and resources, and they did. And, when we first got here in 2012, you're impatient. You want things to happen right away. And it took, 8 or 10 years to get it where it's at. Looking back on it, that's probably how long it should have taken. But on the front end, it's, come on, let's go. But the transformation has been, slow and methodical. And like I said, right now, I think we've got it to a point where it's sustainable.
Absolutely.
And Coach Sabins and the crew are going to do a great job. And I think it's just going to get better from here. And I think this year is a perfect example of it's the best year they've ever had. So,
we're recording this on May 19th, 2025, and WVU Baseball has won the regular season championship for the Big 12, right? That's the first time. That's amazing. And what's cool is like you're talking about that stadium, and that was vision, that Oliver Luck had. You were part of that vision. And, to go to a baseball game this season, last couple of years, I mean, you got standing room only in that ballpark. And that's a heck of an experience for the fan,
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Yeah. Bringing baseball, like collegiate baseball, to a whole nother level. It's been a great ride.
Yeah. Back in the days of Hollyfield. And, if you had 200 people at the game, that was a good crowd. But now the atmosphere's amazing. I came along at a really good time because the stadium was just a thought. Oliver said, here's a piece of paper and a pencil. You draw what you want, and we'll find a way to build it. Wow. So that's what I did. I started with a cocktail napkin and hey, can I borrow a pen? And
is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So
that's great.
I actually still have my original renderings, I think, that I drew out. And it's pretty similar. I'm an outside-the-box thinker, so I had some crazy ideas that didn't make it. But ironically, one of them was I thought a really cool thing would be to have a lounge inside the stadium, but I wanted to have it where if you walked on the concourse, you get in an elevator that was lined with coal, and you go down into a lounge that was underground like a coal mine.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that'd be really cool for the people of West Virginia
that's awesome.
to experience what West Virginia's all about.
Visionary.
But they were like, all right, Maze, enough is enough. We couldn't do it because, ironically, that stadium is built over top of 2 abandoned coal mines.
I did not know that.
Yeah, when we did our underground studies before you built the stadium, it's kind of cool the way they do it. They just basically put a big drill bit into the ground, and the computer tells you what's under there. And they got to about 45 feet, and the drill bit fell about 10 feet when they hit the first mine because it was just an empty cavity.
Wow.
And they kept drilling, and when they got down to, I think, 97 feet, they hit another one. So that stadium is actually built on top of 2 abandoned coal mines.
Wow. And
you can't build a facility like that over top of coal mines, so they had to fill the mines with concrete, believe it or not.
Wow.
So it was just interesting for me. All I know is baseball, but I learned a lot about
engineering, core samples and everything else. That's great.
So it was really cool. It's a little bit of history of what it's all about. I wanted to, as a boat owner, this, I wanted on the concourse to have a piece of plexiglass that you could look down straight down into the coal mines, like a glass bottom boat.
That'd be cool.
So Maze, that's enough, Maze. Let's just play baseball.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a budget here. We got
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Folks, we're visiting with Randy Mazey. He's the former coach of the West Virginia University Mountaineer baseball team and currently working on motivational speaking, leadership training. Coach, I want to take us back so we can learn a little bit more about you and your start. You grew up in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, if I'm correct, right?
I did.
How did you get into baseball in the first place? What age?
My daddy was a baseball player, and he was a coach when I was coming up. So he always coached me and my brother, and as we got older, started having some success. And from a small town outside of Johnstown, I graduated with 100 people, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And was drafted by the Baltimore Orioles out of high school.
Amazing.
And decided to attend Clemson University. And when I got there, I played for a legendary coach named Bill Wilhelm, who coached there for 38, 40 years, something like that. And he always told me that my baseball knowledge when I got there as a freshman was way ahead of most people. So I have my daddy to thank for that, because he taught me the game before most people learn the game.
How did he teach you? Was it like through watching games or listening to them on the radio? Talk a little bit about how he taught you.
It was really cool. My daddy worked in the coal mines. He was a supply guy, so he would come home from work every day with coal dust all over him, and my brother and I would be out in the yard waiting for him to get home. He'd go in and wash the coal dust off of him, and we'd play baseball in the backyard. We'd throw the football in the backyard. We'd shoot the basketball in the backyard. Mama would call us in for dinner. We'd eat a quick dinner, and then we'd go downstairs in our basement. We had a pool table, a ping pong table, and a hockey rink set up in the basement. And we'd do that for about an hour. Then we'd come up, and before bed, we'd play cards. We usually played hearts.
Okay, yeah.
So our day was just filled with that stuff. And I never realized at the time how hard that is for a father to do that. I get emotional thinking about my daddy, but you don't realize how hard that is until you become a father. And you go to work every day, and the job he was in was a kind of a grind. So for him to devote that much time to his kids after work, it's not easy.
Exhausting.
Most people, when they get home from work, want to sit on the couch and have dinner and have a drink and relax. He didn't. He spent so much time with us. And I think that's why I learned the game so much. And he was pretty tough on us.
Just one-to-one time spent with your daddy.
Yeah. And we looked forward to that. Couldn't wait to get home from school. It wasn't any travel ball or anything like that. It was me and my brother and my dad in the backyard. That gave me a pretty good foundation of learning the game. And then when I got to college, I would work summer camps and do different things, and had a passion for coaching. As soon as I finished playing, after college, I signed pro with the Indians, played at the Indians, not the Guardians, the Indians, and played a couple years. And when I got released, I had already had my college degree. I was the only guy actually in the Indian system. When I went to spring training in 1989, I think there were over 300 players in the Cleveland Indians system in spring training. I was the only guy with a 4-year degree at the time, the only guy.
Wow. So
when I got released on Mother's Day, 1989, with my mother in the stands, I knew I had a plan. Most guys, when they get released, don't have a plan. But I went right back to Clemson and started helping out, coaching with Coach Wilhelm.
How did you get into coaching? I mean, was that like a paid job? Was there an opening? How did you get into coaching?
Coaching is a tough business to get in. Sure. Most people, you have to pay some really, really big dues. Exactly. Nobody makes a lot of money when you first start coaching. You do it because you love it. And because I had worked some summer camps for Coach Wilhelm while I was a player, he knew I had a pretty good feel for coaching the game and teaching other people. So as soon as I got released, he said, "Mace, come on back. We'll find a spot for you."
Amazing.
So went back there and helped out and became a graduate assistant and worked camps and grinded it out.
You put your time in, paid your dues, so to speak.
Paid my dues. Yeah. And then at age 27, I got a head coaching opportunity at Charleston Southern University. And I was 27. I was the youngest Division I head coach in the country. Yeah. And everybody thought I was crazy for taking it. But I just did what I knew, and went down there and took a head coaching job without knowing what I was getting into. And 3 years later, we're the Big South champs playing in a regional back at Clemson. So that kind of got it all started. But you just do what you know how to do and surround yourself with the right people, and you have success. And that's kind of how it all got started.
I've heard of this system you developed, the PELT system. Can you talk a little bit about that in terms of how that plays into your coaching style and maybe even what you're doing now with training people and teaching people leadership and those kinds of things?
Yeah, you learn so much in this profession. And the one thing I've learned over time is one year when I was coaching at TCU, my first year at TCU, so where it all started, I was pretty passionate about coaching a new program, and I had 20 pitchers in front of me, and I'm having a 2-hour session. I'm teaching them everything I know about pitching, and I'm passionate about it. And I'm looking around the room, and guys are dozing and not paying attention. And I'm like, man, you're not into this the way I am. So I actually, the next day, gave them an exam on everything I talked about, just to see if they were listening. And they all failed it miserably. And I'm like, how could you get this wrong? I told you this yesterday. And I learned, as I was coming up, I learned that, number one, attention spans aren't as long as you think they are. And number two, people just forget things. So I tried to, from that point forward, develop a system of how people could retain what they know. And because most people, 80% of what you forget is in the first 20 minutes after you hear it. And that's important. It doesn't matter how much I know. It matters how much they know. So I could know more about pitching than anybody in the world. If I can't teach it to people, it's useless. So I started developing systems of how people could retain stuff. And, the basic premise of education at any level is the teacher teaches the material. The student is supposed to retain it, and the only way you know if they're retaining it is if they take an exam. So I started giving all my teams and all my pitchers exams, and you get it back and they fail. But I would adapt a little bit. I would give it back to them. I would keep giving it back to them until everybody made 100. And once everybody makes 100, then at least for one point in their life, I knew that they knew what I was getting across.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So I started developing this system, and it gravitated toward this system. And you use acronyms to help people remember.
Sure.
And PELT actually stands for positivity, effort, leadership, and teamwork. And those were the things I was teaching, and I thought, well, to help people remember it, let's just develop this acronym called PELT.
Yeah.
And that's what I talk about. And it's actually, it's worked for our baseball team at West Virginia, but it can work if you take your son fishing, or if you take your daughter to a dance recital. If you're positive with them, teach them how to put forth the right effort, and show them some leadership skills. And if they're part of a team, teach them how to be a good teammate. It works for anybody at any time. If you and I go fishing and we're sitting in your boat, if we're positive and put in the right amount of effort, you're a better fisherman than I am, so you can show me some things, so you could have some leadership teaching me. And if we work as a team, we'll catch more fish.
I love it.
So
yeah.
The PELT system works for anybody, anywhere, anytime.
That's amazing.
So, that's kind of what, when I talk to groups, that's kind of how I gravitate toward it, teaching people.
I love it. PELT, positivity, effort, leadership, and teamwork. Speaking of positivity, this is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, Breezeline is the best gig in town. Here at InnerAction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, fast, And they're great people as well. Learn more about Breezeline's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're visiting once again with Coach Randy Mazey, former head coach of the West Virginia University Mountaineer baseball team, and now a motivational speaker, leadership trainer. And we're just talking about all sorts of great things from baseball to leadership, which is all intertwined, right? Life is intertwined. Coach, what's the thing that you're most excited about right now, post-retirement?
Well, it's still turkey season, so I'm excited about my toughest decision these days is when I get up in the morning, should I go turkey hunting or trout fishing?
There you go. I love it.
So, yeah, but I spend a lot of time in my garden too. I get out in my garden. I love doing that because in my profession, 35 years of coaching, you need something to be by yourself, for a little bit. Yep. When I get in the garden, nobody screams at me other than my wife occasionally, but I don't see umpires. I don't deal with other people. But
yeah, solitude's a great thing, isn't it? Just having that alone time.
You need that. And I was a guy that, as I was coaching, I had hobbies. I like to hunt, like to fish, like to do different things. Mm-hmm. So retirement for me was really good. A lot of coaches aren't like that. It's just 100% coaching. Because of the pressure involved, you got to win, you got to win, you got to win, or you don't have a job. And they can't retire. When they retire, they go crazy. But fortunately, I have enough in my life that I have passions and hobbies, and retirement was great for me. So it's been wonderful. And I haven't, what people don't understand is I'm still a coach. I still love coaching. I just love coaching adults now.
Yeah.
Coaching baseball I've been doing for 35 years, and I just don't want to coach bunt defenses and pickoffs and hitting anymore. I want to coach the people who coach the kids to get the most out of the kids.
Amazing.
So when I do leadership training and motivational speaking, I'm still coaching people. And all those nights that I said I wasn't sleeping when we were winning and losing.
Yeah.
Ironically, to distract myself, I would get up. I'd get so wrapped up and laying in bed and the hamster on the wheel thing. So I would try and distract myself, and I'd turn on the TV, and ironically, I would turn on Dr. Phil. That's the ultimate distraction. If you thought you had problems, watch Dr. Phil.
Yeah, that's right.
But he would say some things that would stick with me, and I've become a Dr. Phil expert right now. And one of the things that he said that always sticks with me is today could be a changing day in your life. And I believe that. And that applies to everyone. And you can break it down into its most simplest form, because positivity, like we talk about, and confidence, that's just a decision. You can decide to be a positive person.
Exactly.
It's not circumstance. It's a decision.
Yeah, a decision.
You can change the way you think right now, today, and decide to be a positive person. And I've had some tragedy in my life with personally and with my son and the injury that he's going through. Yes. And if you can become a positive person after some of the stuff that people go through, it changes your life. So the people listening out there, today could be a changing day in your life. And start simple. Start by learning how to make your bed in the morning. If you can learn how to make your bed in the morning, you're up 1-0 before you ever walk out the house.
That's right.
You can do something every morning that's satisfying, that's good for you. It's really simple. I mean, how long does it take to make your bed in the morning? 30 seconds?
A couple seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of moments.
You don't have to make it military
That's a win.
style. It's a win.
It's a win.
You start the day with a win.
Absolutely.
And when you go to bed at night, you look at it and like, man, I did that.
Yeah.
I accomplished that.
You bring up a great point, Coach, because, even successful people, have those roadblocks where they have to overcome something and say, you know what, I got to get my hind end in gear and get moving. I have that. There's times in my life where I'm like, I really don't want to do this today, but I do. Like you may wake up with a headache. How many people would say, well, I'm just going to take the day off because I've got a headache. Well, what I've learned is that you get up and you make your bed, and then you go make your breakfast, and then you get a shower and get groomed up, and then you get out the door. Next thing you know, your headache's gone because you're doing something. You're making progress. You're winning. Just in those moments, you can win the day.
Yeah, and deal with kids all the time and try and get them to get up for an 8 o'clock class or to give up sweets late at night. And they say, well, it's hard to get up in the morning. It's hard to give up sweets. And I'm like, don't tell me hard. I've been with my son in a spinal cord and brain rehabilitation facility where kids are trying to walk and hold a spoonful of food and put it up to their mouth. I've seen hard. Don't tell me it's hard to get up in the morning. And I know you know that. You have experience with it. Yep. You know what hard's like. Yep. So don't tell me it's hard to do something simple. So I don't buy into that.
Yeah.
It's hard because you're making it hard. It's not really hard.
Your son, Weston, also known as Whammer, Team Whammer, how's he doing? I mean, we got to talk about him and how his progress has been.
He's doing amazing. He's knock on wood on March 9th of 21, he was injured pretty badly and suffered multiple skull fractures.
At a WVU baseball practice, right?
Yeah. He was
kid.
involved in a collision.
Was he in high school at the time?
He was 14 years old at the time.
Okay.
So, he got kicked in the head and
it's a freak accident, really.
Just a freak accident. You think your son's safe on the baseball field of all places, and we ended up we were close to losing him and rushed him to the ER and all the TV shows that you see when they rush somebody to the trauma room and there's 20 people working on them trying to revive them. We lived that, and it was so bad they sent a chaplain over to talk to us. And I'm like, what are we even talking about? 20 minutes ago we were taking ground balls on the baseball field and that was tough. He spent a week in ICU here in Morgantown and then some time in WVU Children's Hospital and then airlifted to Atlanta to a place called the Shepherd Center.
I've heard of it, yeah.
And where he had to relearn a lot of things and he did. And he's made an amazing recovery and we started a foundation called Team Whammer, and we raise money for adolescents in the state of West Virginia that need specialized care with brain trauma and spinal cord to get to the places they need to get to. We didn't have the proper facility here in West Virginia that specialized in that stuff, so we went to Atlanta, and they saved his life down there and taught him how to do everything, and we've raised probably over $250,000. And now when somebody in the state of West Virginia gets injured, they call me and say, hey, Mace, we got somebody that needs your help.
Wow.
Let's go. Let's get them where they need to go.
You turned a tragedy into a miracle almost.
And that's the positivity we're talking about. If you can manage to be positive throughout all that, then don't tell me you can't be a positive person. The best thing you can do if you run into a negative person that's just negative on life is find another negative person, introduce those two to each other, and just let them go have at it. Put them in the corner of a room. Just don't be around me. Don't bring that negativity around me.
Great advice. That's some of the best advice we've ever gotten on this podcast for sure. Well, Coach, you probably don't know this, but we have a lot in common. In addition to fishing and the love of that, and students of leadership and success and so forth. I'm also a baseball coach. I coach my son Dylan's Miracle League baseball team here in Morgantown. And we've been playing for 23 seasons. We just start tomorrow, actually, with our 23rd season. And you bring up a great point because, when I'm a lay person, I don't have any experience in working with kids or people, with disabilities at all, other than my son. And when you get on that field and you see, people that have autism or Down syndrome or cerebral palsy or a host of other what people would consider disabilities, and they're on that baseball diamond and they're learning how to throw, and they make contact with a ball, with a bat for the first time, or they, for the first time in the season, they actually catch a fly ball. It's incredible, and these people, and most people, in our society would be written off in most cases. But you know what? They have tremendous ability and deep down in them. And I'm a firm believer that, God, our Creator, has implanted in us, each person, no matter what stage of life we're in, no matter what our ability or disability is. We have everything within us to be, to give back to somebody. It doesn't matter, And so what you're talking about is so important, that idea of positivity and effort and leadership and teamwork. I love PELT, the acronym. I think what you've done in your career and continue to do now as you're working with teams and companies and individuals, adults and so forth, I think it's just fantastic. I'm inspired by what you're doing.
Well, same with you inspire me, and you know what I'm talking about when somebody says, giving up Mountain Dew is hard. No, it's not. Watching a kid with cerebral palsy trying to hit a baseball, that's hard.
That's really
so
hard.
don't tell me giving up Mountain Dew is hard. Everybody should experience what you and I have experienced, and that will make them a positive person. We talk about equality is the catchphrase these days. Yeah. The ultimate to me in equality is everybody out there who's listening and watching this podcast has 24 hours in a day to make the best of it. Yeah. And I wear this bracelet that says "Win the Day."
Oh, okay,
I haven't taken this off since my son got hurt. That's our catchphrase, "Win the day."
I just said "Win the day." I wasn't even thinking, but maybe I saw that, and that was how okay, tell us about that.
Yeah.
Win the day. That's easy.
Day.
Right?
Yeah.
Mindset, one day, 24 hours.
That's it. Don't worry about tomorrow, man. You win today.
We're not guaranteed tomorrow anyway.
Yeah. When you wake up tomorrow, win that day.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Get up and make your bed. And that's a great start. You're up 1-0 on your way to winning the day.
I love it. I mean, it's. I say it's simple, but a lot of people don't get it, right? And we have one life. You hear YOLO. You only live once. But honestly, we have each day that comes, and each day's a blessing.
It is, and I talk to people all the time that say, I don't care what other people think about me, and when people say that, I don't believe that. Everybody cares about what people think about them, and even if you feel like you don't care, what people think about you can be used as such motivation. Because with our players at West Virginia, I used to tell them two things. Because I tell them the same thing. You say, I don't care what people think about me. Well, use it as motivation. One of the greatest ways to motivate yourself is to try and prove people wrong. And you can't prove people wrong if you don't know how they feel about you, or if you don't care how they feel about you.
That's a great point.
So
never thought about that.
If you could go through every day trying to prove to people how good you are, you can't do that if you don't care how they feel about you. And self-motivation is a great thing. If you can just exceed expectations every day, then you're doing something. And if you don't care about how people feel about you, then you have no expectations. So I said West Virginia's baseball team this year was picked to finish 5th or 6th in the league. They finished first. They won the league. They've exceeded expectations.
Love it.
That's a great season.
Yes, sir.
Try and be negative to me right now about West Virginia baseball, about they lost this game or they lost that game. Hey, they have exceeded what everybody thought they were going to do. They have proved a lot of people wrong. Yeah. What a great motivator. So don't say you don't care about how people think about you. Use it to your advantage. It's a great motivator how people think about you.
Coach, in your career in baseball and in the baseball business, if you will, right? What's the one thing that like you just sit there and you're kind of like awestruck over? Like, is there any moments in your career that you thought, man, I can't even believe I got to see that?
The favorite thing for me is to watch kids grow over time. Baseball's a game. Good luck playing baseball after your 25th birthday. Hardly anybody gets to do that.
That's right, yeah.
So use baseball as a way to learn positivity, effort, leadership, and teamwork, because you can use all those while you're playing baseball to help you in life once baseball is over, because it ends for everybody. It ended for me on Mother's Day in 1989. It ended for Derek Jeter. It's going to end for J.J. Weatherholt. It ends for everybody. At that point in your life, you need to be prepared to be a coworker, still be a teammate, be a husband, be a father, be a leader, because what people don't understand about leadership is it's inevitable. You can't avoid it. Once you become a father or a husband, you're going to be a leader. While you're playing baseball, learn how to be a good one.
Yeah.
Or while you're young, learn how to be a good one. And watching young baseball players turn into young men and going to their weddings. And Alec Manoah sent me a picture of his little baby boy he
That's
had
so cool.
a month ago.
Awesome.
That's the satisfaction for me. So I've seen how kids' lives are impacted, but if I could teach an adult who's a coach of a team how to impact people, then through him I can impact those 30 people. So by teaching the adults how to teach the kids, you're actually reaching more people that way.
I love it.
So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Coach, when I think about when I have somebody like yourself, a great leader across from me, I always like to pick their brain a little bit. So when you think about leadership today, what do you think is one of the most essential traits or characteristics that a great leader has to have?
It's communication. You know, when I was a young kid and you listen to coaches talk, all the coaches would say, they don't have to like me, they just have to respect me. This world has changed.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a kid playing for you that doesn't like you, he's not going to respond to you. So you have to have a relationship with the kids. They have to like you. Doesn't mean you can't be demanding and hard on them. If you show them that you care about them, then they'll respect that. But the days of screaming and yelling at kids, and that just doesn't work anymore. You have to establish a relationship to where they understand that you're doing this for them. And if they understand you're doing it for them, you can scream at them up and down and kick them in the rear end, and they'll respond to it. So you have to adapt to the kid. If you're a boss or a superintendent and the people underneath you don't like you, good luck getting something out of them. You have to spend time with them. You have to get to know them. Part of my, I have an acronym for leader, and the first part, the L, is you have to learn how your people learn. You have to learn about them. There was when I was coaching my team last year, I could tell you how many brothers and sisters and what their parents did for a living. I could tell you their favorite movie and their favorite meal. If I don't know them, how am I going to motivate them? So you need to get to know the people underneath you. If you can't, I would go to practice and go to a kid and say, "Hey, how's Snippy, your dog, doing?" You know, they like that. They like knowing that their coach knows about them and their family, and that's how you get them to respond. We didn't win the Big 12 championship 2 years ago or play in a super regional last year because we coach kids how to hit better or how to pitch better. Everybody can coach that. It's teaching them how to love each other and be a good teammate and teach them leadership and teach them effort and teach them how to be positive. I just did pelt, but I did it backwards.
Yeah, I love it.
TLEP.
You know it so well. You could do a forward or backward. I love it. Well, it's interesting. I've heard it said that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and that's exactly what you just said, basically. And the idea is it's relationships and connecting with people.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce. I mean, it's
changed. Hard to do. That is hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, with social media
right?
these days, and they get so distracted.
Oh, my goodness. Well, let me ask you this. Maybe this is a loaded question, but, since when you started till 2024 when you retired through coaching, I mean, how have the kids changed and what, even in the age of NIL and, social media and all this pressure and so forth, how did that affect the way that things are happening and call it, especially in collegiate sports?
It does for sure. It's changed the landscape completely. Kids are distracted with social media. Instead of after a bad game leaning on their coach, they'll go home and Google, how do I throw a curveball? And and social media is just in their face all the time. And with the transfer portal and NIL, it's changed the landscape completely. But to be honest with you, without NIL and the transfer portal, West Virginia baseball wouldn't have won the Big 12 2 out of the last 3 years either, because we've taken advantage of it.
That's right.
You can curse it all you want and say it's the ruination of college sports, but it's been a breath of fresh air for West Virginia baseball.
Well, there's two sides to every coin, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
You got the good and the bad, and you got to figure out how. And that's part of coaching today, I would imagine, is navigating all of the ins and outs of the sport.
Yeah, and I told our team as soon as the NIL started, I said, it's turned into a professional model.
Yeah.
You guys all want to be Major League Baseball players. If you get to the major leagues, there's going to be guys on your team that are making a lot more money than you are. Mm-hmm. And now that's the case in college. Our better players in college are making more money than the guys who aren't as good. If you want the most money, go do what J.J. Weatherholt does. Go hit 400, and you'll get NIL money. So you can't hide it from kids these days because of social media. Mm-hmm. So you might as well talk about it. So we talk about the RPI, and you only need one more win to win the Big 12, or this guy gets NIL money and you don't. If you don't talk about it, it's more of a distraction than if you do talk about it.
From the head coach position, how involved were you in those kinds of discussions, like the NIL and all? Does that fall on you, or is there a team of people at the university level helping navigate all that? I'm curious.
Well, the coaches are the ones who know who the best players are that you can't afford to lose, kind of thing.
Right.
There is a team of people that does all the detail and the grunt work, so to speak, but just let them know who's important to us and who isn't, and then they do their thing. But
gotcha.
Yeah, without NIL, the Mountaineers aren't Mountaineer baseball. Yeah. So curse it all you want, but Country Roads Trust and that group has been wonderful for our baseball program.
Great. That's great to hear. And there's a lot more than we can probably handle in this conversation on that, but it is kind of overwhelming from a fan perspective.
Yeah,
how does it all work?
Yeah, that's the tough part for me was, with Team Whammer, I'm trying to raise money for Team Whammer to help kids.
That's right.
And then as a coach, I'm trying to raise money for NIL. And in the big scheme of things, if somebody's willing to donate, and here you have an option whether to donate to a kid with a brain injury that needs help, or a left-handed pitcher that we need in our program. I mean, come on, what's more important?
Yeah.
The kid that needs the help to get to the facility. So
I love it.
You're kind of torn.
Coach, we've covered a lot in this interview. How can folks learn more about Team Whammer and make a contribution, or learn about your, kind of the new horizon that you're working on with leadership coaching and motivational speaking? How can folks learn more about you and what you're working on?
Yeah, there's you can jump on teamwhammer.com and see his story. We have a video of his comeback story that's very inspirational, and if you've never seen it, it's a tearjerker kind of thing. And we're kind of private people. We never had any intentions of doing that. Amanda, my wife, started filming Whammer when he got hurt, because we wanted to show him his progress when he got better.
Yeah.
And after he got better and she filmed it, we were showing that video to one of our friends, and she said, you need to put that out there. There's a lot of people out there that need to see this, that need to see that there's hope for their child.
Encouragement.
So we developed teamwhammer.com, and ironically, just last week, there were 2 baseball players in college involved in a pretty bad collision. And one of the boys was in bad shape. He was in a medically induced coma, and reached out to his coach and his parents and put him on to Team Whammer. And they watched the video and thanked me for the inspiration, and they needed to see it. So it's been a great resource to help people, and that's what we've done. So I say I wouldn't change a thing. It was tough to go through, to see your son like that, your 14-year-old son go through that. But now we come out the other end and are helping people. So that's been a blessing. And I have a website called randymazey.com. You can, if you want to see what I do now and get out there, I would absolutely love to come and talk to your team or your organization. And like I said earlier, today could be a changing day in everybody's life.
I love it.
And if you would just get up tomorrow morning and do something different tomorrow than you did today for the positive, it changes your life. And I think I still love coaching people, and there's a great message there. So I'd be more than happy to do that.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. And, I think, just changing a thought can change your life. You never know when that one moment's going to be where you decide to do something different than you've been doing it and getting a different result.
And like you said, you actually decide. So it's a decision.
Exactly.
You don't have to be in great physical shape or have to be able to climb mountains to decide to be a positive person.
That's right.
Anybody can do it.
I love it. Coach, as we close out our time here, I just want to, first of all, thank you. This has been an awesome opportunity just to get to know you a little bit better. We've had interactions over the years and at our Rotary clubs and fishing, out on the Mon River and stuff like that. But I really just am motivated and encouraged by you and what you're doing in your retirement, really making a difference, equipping people for success, not just in baseball, but in life. And I think that's awesome. And I just want to encourage you as you go on your journey in this next phase and this next season of your life to keep up the great work. I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Well, I appreciate it. And Amanda and I do our own podcast now.
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Give a plug for that.
Well, don't have to give a plug. It's called Mazey Days.
Mazey Days, yes. I've listened to a couple of them.
And
yeah,
we just kind of banter back and forth. We have fun with it.
Yeah.
Last year when I was coaching, we would do a podcast every week to summarize the weekend series that we just played. But we tell stories about leadership and have fun with it. And people call in and, text in and ask us questions. And I just have a lot of fun with it. And
I love it.
Do some tidbits of leadership here and there. And it's pretty humorous at times, and we like to interact with people.
I've listened to a couple episodes. We'll make sure we have links to Mazey Days, Team Whammer, and RandyMazey.com on the social media and all the show notes and stuff. So, folks, if you really want to learn a little bit more about leadership and Coach Mazey, check him out. Listen to the podcast and make a contribution to Team Whammer.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate everything that everybody does, and just stay positive. Make a change, man. Make a change.
I love it, man. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you very much. Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on the show, reach out on our website, positivelywv.com. There's a button there you can apply to be a guest on the show. And I also want to take an opportunity to just thank you guys for sharing these episodes, just like that of Coach Randy Mazey. Share this on your social media. Help him. Let's help raise some money for Team Whammer and his son and the organization around that to help other folks that are going through tragic injuries like that, just like Weston did. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Jimmy Murray behind the controls. Thank you, Jimmy. I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, InnerAction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.